Hello and welcome back, everybody. So I hope everyone has had a chance to go and stretch your legs and to grab a coffee or some refreshments, and you're all back here with us now for the final sessions of the conference. So we are reaching the final stages of the conference, but we do have some real highlights. We're delighted to have saved some real highlights of the conference to the end. So we're going to be closing right at the end. As I've mentioned to you all, we're going to be giving you the opportunity to bring your audio and video live and come and be part of the discussion yourselves. But before we do that, we have two closing keynote presentations. So I'd like to start the proceedings for the final keynote presentations by welcoming to the stage the first of our two keynote speakers, Bocar, who is CEO of the SAMENA Telecommunications Council. So Bocar, welcome. It's an honor to have you with us, and understand you're going to be talking a little bit about the role that Spectrum can play in delivering a bridge to a sustainable digital economy. So we're really looking forward to that. As I said, it's an honor to have you with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dan, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen from Dubai. It's a great privilege to be a part of this prolific gathering organized by the ITU and the CITC. I would like to start by extending my heartfelt congratulations to the ITU and the CITC, also to the organizer, on materializing this invaluable exchange of views on the future of the industry, spectrum utilization challenges, and digital transformation outlook that transpired over these 3 days of discussion. My name is Bocar. I'm the CEO of SAMENA Telecommunications Council, but I'm also the chairman of the ITU Industry Advisory Group on Development Issues and the Private Sector Chief Regulatory Officer meetings. Can I have, Dan, please, the slide number 1? During this deliberation so far, and I would like to acknowledge the expertise of most of the speakers and panelists, the views exchanged and the statement given by the excellencies and industry leaders have clearly established how innovative and effective policy and regulatory solutions and enabling measures, which have been key to setting the foundation for digital transformation, are absolutely essential to building a sustainable digital future and a sustainable digital economy. The discussion have also established it well that spectrum allocation and utilization approaches may no longer just be either this or that, but rather a mix of this and that. And that is to say, we are now operating in the world of network resilience and flexibility. And flexibility applies equally to the availability of spectrum. Colleagues, spectrum is a major stepping stone for building a sustainable digital economy. As national asset and scarce national resource, spectrum needs to be managed to optimize, of course, return to the government, but while at the same time ensuring it contributes an equal, if not more, value to the overall national economy. Up until the recent past, observation of many had pointed to the concern that the spectrum amount being released was far less than that required to support the expected growth in mobile data traffic, which may soar even further than what has been observed over the past 11 months. And I'm referring to the COVID pandemic. Next slide, please. Can I have the next? Yes. Balancing the issues, and that is important, of availability, allocation, region-wide harmonization is a major challenge that can impact investment. Moreover, spectrum is hard to manage. We've heard that. Creating a harmonized spectrum environment which supports innovation, foster competition, and creates regulatory stability is equally challenging. Another major challenge which continues to prevail to this day is under an inefficient utilization. For example, in the sub 1 gigahertz frequency band, especially in the 600, 700 megahertz range. A combination of sub-1 gig harmonized spectrum and larger blocks of high-frequency spectrum, such as at the 3.6, are the necessary bands to enable the boost of mobile broadband speeds in an economically efficient manner, an aspiration that most regional digital economy shares within at least the SAMENA region. Such a combination can decisively boost the fulfillment of, and let's remember, SDG 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure, by accelerating resilient rural broadband infrastructure, quality of service, and industrialization in the wake of the fourth industrial revolution. Considering a major portion of their capital investment by network operator are dedicated to just acquiring spectrum, and noting also that operators cannot always gain access to the bands that would be most efficient given their current holdings, and not to mention as well the adverse impact that fragmented spectrum holding can have on financial and operational well-being for operators, spectrum's importance far transcends just government revenue. And this is one of the key messages. It is a delicate balancing act which has been managed so far very well, at least in the Arabian Peninsula. Can I have slide number 3? Now, here at this point, I would like to commend the achievement of the Saudi policymakers and regulators thinking beyond short-term economics. Recent endeavors by the CITC to develop a 5-year spectrum roadmap for commercial and innovative use is a very progressive regulatory enablement step for operators to efficiently plan their future investment for the maximum benefits of their customer and shareholders. The release of spectrum by CITC, and that too at a relatively low cost, if you remember, between 2017 and 2019, more than double the spectrum available in Saudi Arabia for mobile services. And this further reflects on the CITC's determination to unlock the future through ambitious plan to make more than 10 gigahertz of spectrum available for innovative uses over the next 4 to 5 years. And to that effect, His Excellency, the Governor of CITC, referred to this plan the day before yesterday. It is both encouraging and inspiring to see a progressive regional regulator adopt the pragmatic and speedy approach in awarding much needed harmonized spectrum, thereby leading to a great outcome of justifying private sector network investment and by substantially helping to improve mobile internet speeds for consumers. The result, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is now home to the fastest average 5G download speeds, which is a major achievement in the world of broadband connectivity. As a consequence, such regulatory enablement approaches on spectrum are precisely the reason why call for digital transformation, underway for some years, really began their fulfillment this year more than any other period in the recent history. Another country in the recent time, particularly throughout 2020, and speaking on the relatively brighter side, the prevailing health crisis, despite its numerous challenges, has in fact also accelerated regulatory enablement, government and private sector collaboration, and the speed of digitization and digital socio-economic transformation, resulting in an exponential rise in the requirement of wireless broadband, especially with respect of the next generation of mobile broadband, at the heart of which lies 5G, and to make innovative use of which countries like the UAE, and we just heard the TRA, are already executing national 5G strategies with the full participation of other industries into the digital ecosystem. Since 2019, last year, when implementation of 5G became a commercial reality, the approach to make 5G a success has also changed. It is no more only a commercial responsibility of mobile operators, as 5G is the core digital infrastructure with the potential to serve all digital services, the timely growth of the network is essential. And this requires spectrum resources, incentivizing investment, and keep the market and the evolving 5G ecosystem sustainable through enabling regulatory measures. Fortunately, some regulators have made adequate spectrum available to operators to roll out 5G in record time, especially in countries where we witness early launches, made possible through a constructive partnership between regulators and spectrum license holder. Now, we at SAMENA Council believe that a constructive partnership with regulators will deliver the best outcome for economic and social welfare by creating a positive environment for the large investment needed to enable the large-scale digitization required for the long-term benefits of users, providers of commercial spectrum-based services, and the evolving digital economy. Colleagues, based on the discussion over the last 2 days and our existing experience with data growth trends, we can almost accurately predict that administration will need to identify new spectrum bands to fulfill the need for more radio resources. Let's have a look on the slide number 4, please. This call for a new paradigm in shared license and local license models to be considered and adopted, such that more licensed, license-exempt, and shared spectrum become available to the private sector for continuing their role in the fulfillment of the Global Connect 2030 agenda. And as we progress forward, it may also become necessary to utilizing existing 4G bands to allow for 5G transmission, to make 5G cost efficient and with a wide coverage. And that is in the spirit of technology neutrality. So fundamentally, to sum up, we have 3 key considerations to balance. 1, manage high data growth with additional and or more efficient use of existing spectrum. 2, bring unlicensed and or shared spectrum users to the equation. And 3, use 4G spectrum to drive 5G. The emerging future is bringing to surface evolved wireless technologies such as, and you heard about that, Wi-Fi 6. And we may require unconventional spectrum allocation approaches, as I mentioned earlier. Wi-Fi 6 will use unlicensed spectrum for low power indoor type of services, and that is extremely important. An evidence-based approach might suggest that unlicensed spectrum such as Wi-Fi in the frequency of 6 gigahertz is well supported and will not only help offer consumer choice, but will allow MNOs to use the spectrum via mobile offload. And here, in making a direct reference from our own SAMENA Council Leaders Summit to the need to foster cross-industry collaboration with the ICT industry, we may note that the healthcare, manufacturing, agriculture, automotive, etc. are going to be key users of spectrum resources as digitization further catches pace. And these so-called verticals will provide jobs, economic growth, boost the GDP. It will be essential to ensure these verticals, through, again, telecom operators, have access to the spectrum they need. Unlicensed spectrum can also be used by these sectors to provide independent 5G networks using 5G new radio technology unlicensed, the famous NRU. Which is the first global cellular standard with both license-assisted and standalone use of unlicensed spectrum. Because there may be a quality of service issue regarding unlicensed band, if they are used by other verticals close by, this can help by allocating more spectrum to Wi-Fi unlicensed. In ITU spectrum, mobile spectrum demand studies, it has been generally accepted that around 50% of mobile traffic is offloaded to Wi-Fi. Thus, use of unlicensed spectrum would be an important option for catalyzing new, innovative, and emergent radio technology. The future of connectivity is pointing to the likelihood that more spectrum for unlicensed services will indeed be needed, and frequency 5.925 gigahertz to 7.125 gigahertz seems to offer the potential for economy of scales and for the next generation of Wi-Fi device. Now, based on what we have heard, next slide, please. Let's learn from the lesson. The digital world of today demands more of what has worked well throughout the COVID-19 crisis and less of reinventing new techniques and modalities. Temporary spectrum allocation to meet emergency communication needs, which have been among the key regulatory enablement exercise done by the regulators, have worked very well to accommodate data needs in the current times. Depending on market characteristics, such temporary spectrum awards should be considered for permanent allocation. Regulators were quick to collaborate with operators to meet common goals of public welfare, and this is important, alteration of some regulation which foster further collaboration could help operators in provisioning faster broadband and higher data usage service. This may be the best time to revisit taxation and industry fees structure, given the proven value that connectivity has displayed during these challenging months that we are in, with businesses and citizens almost entirely relying on the power of connectivity as they would have done in the past on the power of natural resources. Within the digital communication industry, a change in mindset and approaches has been catalyzed by the COVID-19, and this change would later prove to be an essential ingredient for not only managing future challenges of pandemic scale, but also for accelerating digital cooperation necessary for meeting globally defined goals for the next decade. And from that, for the next 10 years, and this is the purpose, I would like to share with you some thoughts. We need to refocus. Can I have the next slide, please? We need to refocus efforts and frame policies targeting broadband deployment through fresh, future-proof approaches. This almost instantly necessitates building better mechanisms and corridors of enhancing collaboration between the private sector and government. Operators, terrestrial and satellite, are collectively the enabling engine of ICT-driven nation building and sustainable development. That is important because we cannot restrict this 5G development to a competition between satellite and terrestrial. This essentially renders the ICT private sector a much greater role also in far-reaching national socio-economic development endeavors, and thus near or short-term revenue-generating exercise no longer should continue as has historically been the case. Connectivity now demands increased investment in order to expand broadband deployment like it has never been witnessed before. There is no consensus that connecting the remaining unconnected 47% of the world population will not at all be as easier as it has been connecting the current 53%. Creating a robust broadband infrastructure through hybrid solution, which may entail addressing spectrum needs of both terrestrial and satellite players, will need to be considered. This digitally divided world of today and the hyper-connected world of tomorrow, with technologies merging seamlessly, necessitate the adoption of a true technology-neutral culture, both in terms of policy making and regulation. Hybrid connectivity solution and government assistance in incentivizing partnership development among the industry's key players, both terrestrial, I insist, and satellite, may also need to become a priority. We must take into account all relevant technologies and related industries. For example, the satellite industry need to be recognized as a real opportunity that can help achieve universal connectivity, while also taking into account aspects such as affordability, and this is essential. The next generation broadband satellite could be useful. We have seen so many presentations in providing high capacity services in rural area, provided again affordability factor is addressed by the same players. Another idea, to treat the next decade, we need also to enshrine affordability of spectrum into the ICT policies and address the issue of license fee. Regulatory authorities in their inter-regulators and private-public collaboration should consider making it a priority to leverage other utility networks, such as electricity networks with broadband infrastructure, to complement connectivity. Spectrum is an invisible infrastructure, so it is important. Another idea, food for thought, regulators, as a matter of regulatory enablement practice, award as much contiguous spectrum as possible to operators within individual bands. Small or fragmented amounts of spectrum increase deployment costs and prevent operators from delivering true mobile broadband services. The very practical mid-frequency band in the range of 2 to 8 gigahertz, namely the TDD band at 3300, 3800 megahertz, 2300 and 2600 megahertz, etc., have emerged as the primary frequency bands for the introduction of 5G, providing an optimal balance between coverage and capacity for cost-efficient implementation. Likewise, 3800 to 4200 megahertz is a band with good balance between capacity and coverage, suitable for macro deployment and continuous coverage in urban and suburban environment in an economically viable manner. However, it may serve MNOs, and this is a food for thought, in terms of cost saving if contiguous blocks of spectrum are awarded, and it may also be helpful to not make the license geographically limited. Taking the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as a great example of accelerated spectrum award availability, it may serve the Saudi market well if the CITC prioritize the release of an unallocated portion of 600 megahertz, 700 megahertz, and 800 megahertz spectrum. It is important that this band be addressed together simultaneously rather than one at a time. This block of spectrum is critical for improving 5G rural coverage and for supporting new use cases such as vehicle to everything, V2X. Moreover, we also suggest to start embarking upon the release of the 3.8 to 4.2 gigahertz frequencies. Another aspect is the convergence of fixed and broadcasting services is a major enabler of future wireless innovation. This innovation will, however, necessitate having more bandwidth to support, for example, large radio backhauling and small cell backhauling. Government ICT vision and regulatory enablement approaches should timely attend to revisit current licensing regime, incentivizing millimeter wave spectrum use, and mutually defining through public-private sector collaboration requirement for ecosystem development and sustainability, of course. Sustainability merits that incentive such as 3 to 5 years deferred payment facility on spectrum award and extension of spectrum license to be for a minimum period as an idea of 25 years that should be considered to help reduce amortization and delays in license renewals. The adoption of the collaborative regulation model, which open up multilateral dialogue and harmonized approaches across the board, may be an essential element of good sustainability-driven approaches. Last, considering the global drive toward attaining universal digital access and strides being made toward the 17 SDGs, including SDG number 9, which I quoted at the beginning of my talk, for which, and we have seen that, for which high altitude platform station system may be quite useful for providing both fixed broadband connectivity for end users in unserved area, and transmission links between the mobile and core networks for backhauling traffic, we see yet another reason why spectrum needs must be met from availability and efficient utilization points of views, and equally so from the interference management perspective. The latter issue is also important from regional 5G proliferation point of view, given incident of signal interference of late. It's important to expedite effort on cross-border frequency interference and frame structure synchronization, and to guarantee clean spectrum for each licensee operator. So this was the conversation I wanted to have with you, ladies and gentlemen. Spectrum resources are immensely important for achieving the best economic welfare outcomes for our developing digital economies. Therefore, we all need to collectively enable commercial and innovative use of spectrum that could fulfill the data requirement of tomorrow to help build and accelerate the region's sustainable digital economy alongside achieving other ICT development milestones in the region. With that, I would like to thank you very much for the opportunity to have this conversation. And once again, it has been really a privilege to be a part of this ITU and CITC meeting. Thank you very much, and over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Bocar, and please, I can assure you that the privilege is all ours to have had you with us to help close the conference today. And I think that's some really inspiring messages that you've given there, and really do appreciate your time and being with us. And thank you so much for as I said, for giving us those thoughts. So there was some fantastic ideas from Bocar, some fantastic thoughts from Bocar there. And that will lead quite nicely onto our final keynote presentation. So we're just going to do a quick switch over into a new studio. So within about 30 seconds, I'll be back and we're going to have our final keynote presentation of the day. So please don't go anywhere. Thank you.